section of Sarasota Bay. Are you concerned about the loss of native habitat and the interconnections of them for our wildlife through studies of 2050? And if so, what will remedy that?
Well, as everyone knows here, I'm sure that the changes in the 2050 plan that are on the table right now do call for less green space in the developments east of the interstate. And that does impact the environment, it does impact the bay. I think, in my mind, you have to be willing to compromise both sides. Obviously, there are going to be development interests that want to have it all. They want to have their cake and eat it too, as someone has said on this table, I think. There are other people who want them to have nothing. And we've got to meet in the middle on almost every issue that this county faces. Being a centrist as I am, a pragmatist, I consider myself a person who can look at issues rationally and come to a logical compromise. And I think both sides have to be willing to do that. Obviously, there are, big reasons we came here. The main reason is the beaches, the bays, the...
Right.
Yes.
I got to move you back to the topic.
Okay.
So, what will you do to remedy the loss of habitat and the connections?
Well, you're talking about the connections within the developments, within the cluster developments?
It's, let me rephrase it. The loss of native habitat and interconnections of them for our wildlife through gutting of the 2050, implying that gutting the 2050 is going to take away all that. What would you do to remedy that if it was gutted?
I don't think it's going to be gutted, honestly. I think some of the things that are on the table have not been finalized yet. So I think that in the future we're going to see some voices at the table that are going to cause some changes out there. I mean, doesn't really directly relate to this, but the Legacy Trail it has a lot of connections with the environment, connections with the okay.
Thanks. I just got to stick to topic. Laura Ramirez, this is for you. The worst criticism your opponents have been able to dig up against you is that for a short time you ran once a small business with a new age theme, where those are trendy items sold and even tarot reading sessions were offered. Please address that, noting whether you were able to adapt any of those interpretation and prediction skills while you were advising Fortune 500 companies, and compare the relative percentage of your professional career devoted to the two types of businesses.
Okay, I didn't catch the last part, but I knew you were going to ask that question.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat the last part?
No, I'm only joking about that. I didn't know she was going to ask that. Sorry, nobody got my joke.
Sorry.
I'm terrible at telling jokes. I apologize. Okay, don't hold that against me. I'm bad at jokes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll read the last part. Please address, noting whether you're able to adapt any of those interpretation and prediction skills while you were advising Fortune 500 companies, and compare the relative percentage of your professional career devoted to those types of business.
Well, when I had the shop, it was called the Isle of Avalon. It was on University Parkway at the Benderson Shopping Center. And Benderson was one of my their clients, their employees were my best customers. And I really felt that, I had different lifestyles. I was an accountant one time, I was a marketing person one time, I did sales, I worked in mining, and as well as I owned a retail store. And when I opened up the retail store, I wanted to do something different. And it's very much like Legion Fields, if anybody knows that store on Bay Vista. And it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing it. I started that in 2003. My corporate life was prior to that. I didn't do anything. They didn't combine. And then when I closed it because of the recession in 2010 and my lease was up, I just started to look for new opportunities and haven't done a lot of that since. But it was a lot of fun. I loved it. It was a beautiful store. It had a lot of clients. And it was just a great time of my life.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schneider, this is for you. While a city commissioner, you chose not to meet with the administrative manager or constituents. Please assess whether that was an accomplishment or a failure. And do you plan to do the same at the county?
Constituents?
Yeah.
I meet with constituents all the time, so I don't know who brought that one up. And I just stood up right before this and offered anybody my cell phone number. I also offer my cell phone number to every neighborhood association I go to. Perhaps I don't go through the city hall. Now, I'm not meeting with the city manager. I'll say publicly. I don't trust anything he tells me. And I know that sounds shocking, but I don't. I've lived through enough of it. I just left the county meeting, and it was pretty obvious what was going on there. So I don't have great faith in him. I've publicly stated that. That's probably the politest thing the way I've stated it. I just don't. So no. Do I meet with the city manager? No. But I seem to have more information than a lot of other commissioners sitting at the table, so I seem to be doing a pretty good job.
Okay, thank you. Pete Tyson, this is for you. Considering the group trip city and county commissioners attended, traveling together to distant cities such as Asheville, do you believe that was a violation of the Sunshine Law?
Do I believe what is a violation?
When city and county commissioners traveled together, like when they went up to Asheville to view all the different things that Asheville was doing, do you believe that that was a violation of the Sunshine Law?
Well, they did announce that they were going. I don't know if they kept minutes or not. If they kept minutes, then they were legal.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we're gonna do another lightning round for all the candidates, strictly a yes or no. Pete, hang on to it, we're starting with you. As a commissioner, would you vote for public access to all county commissioner emails through the county website? Yes or no?
I would, well, yes, of course, the
Okay, thank you.
emails would be.
Okay. Shannon?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, Lourdes? Yes. Ray?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Paul? Yes. Ooh, we have a consensus. All right, let's go back. You guys good? All right, Shannon, Simon, this is for you. State whether you voted for or against the Walmart plan for Ringling Shopping Center and explain why that was your choice.
I voted against it, voted against the Walmart. It did not match the zoning code. A lot of people don't realize when you come in to do a development, you get what's called a letter certifying zoning compatibility. That's so you don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on engineering and architectural drawing, knowing that you have the zoning compatibility when you go to apply for a piece of property. Walmart never did that. There were problems with that zoning code. That's something the city commission is addressing right now. And so far, my vote is being sustained in the courts. The zoning code did not match up to what we could have tried to put in there. Not that Walmart's a bad company, just the law did not allow us to approve it.
Thank you. Ray Porter, this is for you. Growing new houses is a single harvest industry. Changes to the 2050 are reducing our ranching and farmland, which are more essential to a healthy and sustainable future for Sarasota. Would you commit to rectifying this loss?
And I think that question is rather pointed because it's making assumptions that may not be true. I think that the 2050 plan, as it was put together in 2002 and finally fully implemented in 2006, came together through a process of duress and public hearings and forums, and both sides, all sides of the community, were able to put their 2 cents in, and we came up with a compromise. And now that compromise apparently isn't working for some people. Some people want to leave it exactly the same. Some people want to change it entirely. And I think what we have here is a conflict that really requires more study. Unfortunately, when Randall Reed was the county commissioner, right before he left office, before he was summarily fired, he was asking for another study to be done on the 2050 changes. I think the more information you bring to the table, it's always a better thing to have. As a reporter, I was always trying to get that last interview before the deadline, trying to get another voice into the equation. And when you have all the information, you can make logical, rational decisions. In that case, we lost the ability to have that report. I was a little upset, a little surprised that the county commissioners who remained after Randall Reed was gone didn't
Can I
bring that up
interrupt
again.
though? Can you just ask, would you commit to rectifying this loss?
Again, I just don't agree exactly with the way you're phrasing the question.
Okay, that's fine. All right, let's move on. John Linder, name 3 policies you would put into place to encourage investment in existing neighborhoods. Sure. Name 3 policies you would put into place to encourage investment in existing neighborhoods.
I'm not sure I got the question yet.
All right. How would you encourage?
Would you put it away from your mouth a little bit?
How would you encourage investment in existing neighborhoods?
I would encourage investment in existing neighborhoods. I think one of the things I said through all afternoon this afternoon was the homeless problem. And the homeless problem is a serious problem here in Sarasota County. And I have recommended that they move the homeless to the Bob Building, which is located 8.5 miles from the city of Sarasota.
I have to keep you on topic of it, I apologize. We're just talking about how you encourage investments in neighborhoods.
Well, that's the way you would encourage that within neighborhoods. You have to first have the proper zoning, then you have to have the proper businesses located there, and then you have to have the laws and stuff to protect those businesses in the neighborhood. And Sarasota County, City of Sarasota, you have a very serious problem with the homeless in downtown city of Sarasota, and that's creating a lot of problems and a lot of vacant office space because the businesses are moving out of the city of Sarasota and out into the county. This was discussed for over 4 hours this afternoon.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You want to also give you a note on the microphone? Am I better if I carry it lower? I can handle that. But you guys have to make sure if you move back and forth, you can only hear every other word you're doing. So make sure the microphone is right in front of you. Not me. I have a loud voice. Okay, Mr. McAllister, you espouse that politics should move past political parties. What advantages do you foresee without them?
I think on a national level, we see that this politics game is an incredibly wasteful use of our energy, of our time. It's just a back and forth thing that just doesn't work anymore. And most Americans now, especially Sarasota County, are registering more as no party affiliation because we're finished with it. What we want for our politics, for our government, is get back to that of the people, for the people, by the people. We want real human beings there, men who will stand on their own 2 feet and say, this is what I believe in, this is what I think, and I will make my decisions based upon my allegiance to my community, not to any party. We just want to make some money outside and have some fun. It's time to call the cops, shut down the party, and get down to work. We've got people to care for. We've got people without homes. We've got children who have to have subsidized lunches. We have issues we need to deal with. And we can't do that as a party. We have to refocus our energies again on what politics is really about, what democracy is really about. The representative democracy that we've been using for so long isn't representing us anymore. On a large level, on the federal level, more than half of the legislators are millionaires. That doesn't represent me. Bernie Buchanan could never make a decision on my behalf. Are you kidding? He doesn't understand who I am. And we need better government at a local level because that's where change brings.
Thank you. Mr. Caragillo, after several rejections by city voters, you introduced a proposal for the referendum on an elected mayor that failed to be supported by the city commission, and then you participated in the advancement of a wholly new charter that would include that elected mayor. What is the representative basis of your support for that changing government form of the city?
As a citizen, that is my opinion that that form of government might better represent the city, and I will stand by that no matter what.
Thank you. All right, these are for the 2 city commissioners, Paul and Shannon, who are competing against one another for the same District 2 seat. We will ask the following questions of them together. Shannon, you go first. The city doesn't have an urban service boundary, so you never have to deal with that issue. What is the advantage of an urban service boundary to local government that provides services for 556 square miles of land?
Urban service boundaries allows. Urban service boundary allows the opportunity to have good planning to make sure that your infrastructure is in place, whether it's your roads, your sewer, your fire department, your schools. If you don't have an urban service boundary and you have sporadic jumping development, you end up with further and further costs. It costs more money to run sewer lines, it costs more money to run fire departments further out, it costs more money for law enforcement. The urban service boundary provides that boundary that you're able to provide those services in. It sounds sort of natural, but some folks don't believe in that, and that's really where we need to have that boundary because our quality of life is what's important.
Thank you. Paul, would you like me to repeat the same question?
I just was wondering what the scope of the question was with regard to what had to do with the city of Sarasota, the first part of the question.
I don't know, it's just a qualification.
Okay.
Saying that you haven't had the experience.
The entire city's urban.
Okay, let me repeat the question though for you. The city doesn't have an urban service boundary, so you have never had to deal with that issue. What is the advantage of an urban service boundary to a local government that provides services for 556 square miles of land?
Well, I mean, to echo what
Shannon just said, it's basically to disincentivize development that would be more expensive to the taxpayer and to incentivize perhaps developing of areas where infrastructure is less expensive. It's a fail-safe, if you will.
Thanks. Hold on to that, Mike. You're going to get the next question. What do you consider your three most positive accomplishments during your term as city commissioner?
The three most positive become my individual ones.
Yes.
Well, I'm part of a team. I'm not an individual type of a person, but I would think first, prominent a hotel is a good thing. I think that the removal of impact fees for the city is a good thing, and I think the commencement of an urban design studio is a good thing.
Okay, and Jen, you're going to get the same question. What do you consider your three most positive accomplishments during your term as a city commissioner?
I think the fact that I've never voted for a property tax increase is first. Second of all, after much consternation, we took those darn parking meters out and got rid of them, and I suggested a few things with them that were inappropriate, but we sold them off rather than shoot them up. So the parking meters are gone, and I would say that the other thing that I let on and I brought to the table was the suspension of the sewer and water impact fee, so we could actually try to get some more development because we have excess of capacity both in sewer and in water.
Okay, hang on. You can answer the next one. What do you consider your three greatest failures during your term as city commissioner?
Voting for CONA Forum to be city manager is the first one. And that pretty well tops all three of them. After that, I'm pretty well happy.
Okay. Paul, can you answer that?
As far as, if I can paraphrase your question, as to things or votes that I cast that I wish I didn't, is that acceptable?
Yeah, what do you consider your three greatest failures?
I wish I did not vote for a zoning change that occurred in Laurel Park regarding the single-family home. It was, as a legal standard, it was really poor choice, so I would have probably not done that. And I will sort of encapsulate that I made, without saying too much, I did make a pretty bad HR decision.
Okay, hang on, Paul, this next one's for you. The city of Sarasota has declared that it will protect the seagrass beds in the bay. City regulations only allow private dredges to quote-unquote maintain existing and functional channels in our bay. Declaring that no channel now extends from 4449 Bayshore Road on the shallow eastern shore, even though one had been created there 100 years ago. In 2013, the city denied a permit for a private dredge extending 400 feet from the lush seagrass beds on public lands. You expressed support for the dredge. Please explain your position.
I expressed support for the idea that the city should not decide which of their ordinances they want to enforce and which they selectively want to pass on to the county. We are a sovereign organization. Our rules are our rules. If we want to change our rules as a city, we should change them. But basically having a sliding standard of whose rules you're going to enforce is not a good standard. I am totally in favor of having stricter, more rigid standards, as perhaps the county does, but you got to write it in there first. You don't retroactively apply a standard.
All right, Shannon, would you like me to repeat the same question?
Yeah, it was a sovereignty question, basically. Did we have the opportunity to do it? It was a poorly crafted ordinance that had not been updated. The homeowners had already been to the county and been denied, which they should not have gone to begin with. And then they came to us, and then we had to make the same decision on basically what it is. It's a poorly crafted ordinance, and that was mentioned that basically if we're going to succeed that one issue to the county, there wasn't the purpose for the overall sovereignty anymore of all the cities. So I think that was more the question.
Okay, Shannon, hang on, another one for you. The county environmental staff already had recommended denial of a permit for the same dredge, and it was denied by a 5-0 vote for the county commission. The city could have deferred that evaluation and denial, being supportive of the regionalization. Why did you insist that the city ordinance be the only basis for a decision about the application for this permit?
Because you can't pick and choose what ordinances you're going to regionalize and regionalize. If you're not going to do that, then you can't pick and choose what you're going to pick. At that point, you don't have a consistency in it. It's much like with our stormwater. We turned stormwater completely over to Sarasota County as far as being able to regulate, including inside the city, much that we did the fire department. If we're going to do that, that conversation needs to happen. That was a specific instance that we could not, we weren't discussing regionalizing those issues. We were discussing one instance that we had to go by on the city code.
Okay. Moving on to a lightning round. Again, it's a yes or no answer, starting with Steve McAllister. Should the county ethics review policy apply to both commissioners and staff?
Yes.
Okay. John?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Lourdes?
Yes.
Okay, you have to turn the mic on.
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes?
Pete?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Lourdes, this question is for you. Please explain your position regarding the changing of the 2050 fiscal neutrality policy. With the impact fees already reduced, if the policy is weakened further, how will the cost of infrastructure be paid?
Okay, it gets turned on for some reason. The fiscal neutrality portion of the 2050 plan is currently being discussed, and they're thinking about getting it. It is a big problem. We need to try to sustain this fiscal neutrality as written, which requires new developers pay for all the infrastructure that it incurs when it asks for the increase in density. Because of the impact fees being reduced, right now we're already being forced to pay for roads and other infrastructure, and there's going to be big problems coming up the line when we need to do more resurfacing and new roads and not have enough money. So I'm opposing and, saying that there's no way the county should change fiscal neutrality in any way.
Thank you. Paul, an answer to you. The quality of life is deteriorating in Sarasota with increased traffic congestion, more air pollution, noise pollution, light pollution, rising sea levels, and such. Name 3 things that you would advocate to improve the quality of life and address such environmental concerns.
Well, first of all, since there seems to be some kind of a morphing traffic standard for projects, I would definitely work to standardize some form of a process. I think that cost us picking and choosing what we wanted to enforce. As far as with respect to further quality of life, I think that basically we have to just keep our community attractive enough so that people would want to live here. With respect to noise, I think some form of a collaborative effort with the county and their noise policies is not a bad thing, because I think that there should be different standards in different places. Urban environment perhaps and should have one standard, and a suburban environment might have a different one without getting into the details. So different things to look at.
Thank you. All right, another lightning round question. Again, a yes or no answer. And John, I'm going to start with you.